Welcome back to the channel, everybody. So as you can tell, a little bit different of a background today. I'm actually on vacation at the Oregon coast visiting my sister, and beautiful day, beautiful background. And what I wanted to do today is a video that I get requested actually far more frequently than you might think, and that is, how do we in Special Forces handle stress and anxiety and fear so well? Okay, so you guys might think all these badass war heroes are super courageous, we don't get scared of anything. Guys, that is the furthest thing from the truth. Everything we do in Special Forces is scary, stress-inducing, and causes fear. Okay, now, and that's where you kind of think of the word courage, right? Being courageous does not mean doing things with lack of fear. It's accomplishing things while being terrified. Really, that's what courage is. Okay, so gunfights, super scary. Jumping out of planes from 18,000 feet in the middle of the night when you can't see your buddies, super scary. Okay, so all these things are scary. Anybody who tells you they're not at least a little bit scared when they do these things is full of shit, guys. I'll be honest with you. All right, so there's my career in Special Forces has, I think, taught me 3 keys to handling stress, fear, and especially anxiety. Anxiety is an issue I dealt with a lot, especially with my PTSD. It's probably the #1 symptom I've had to deal with because of that. And I think these 3 things, if you have issues with this, are gonna really help you in life, okay? And this isn't necessarily the cure to everything, but these are the 3 things that I learned through my career in Special Forces on how to manage these things. Okay, you're never going to get rid of them completely, but you can make them very, very manageable, to the point where sort of that fear and stress can turn into sort of confidence and adrenaline and actually drive you. Okay, so let's jump into it and talk about the 3 keys to, again, conquering your fears, conquering your anxiety, and handling your stress. Okay, so let's first talk about, in Special Forces, what can cause these things. Like I mentioned, everything, okay? Combat, gunfights, halo jumps, diving at night, mountaineering, anything you could think of, fast roping, riding into, getting shot at on a helicopter while you're moving into a target, all sorts of different things. Everything's scary, okay? Now, let's start out with the first key, and I think this is by far the most important one, and it's the one we all do in Special Forces constantly, and it's by design, and that is something we call stress inoculation. Okay, stress inoculation, what does that mean? We are constantly exposed to the stressor, and we do it on purpose, ad nauseum. I'm going to walk you through why this is so important. Okay, so whatever is causing you the stress, okay, whether it be your work, or maybe it could be anything. For us, for me, at some points, jumping out of a plane. When I first started doing Halo, I was terrified. I'd be on the ramp getting ready to jump with my hands shaking like this for my first 50 jumps because I was so terrified. Now, of course, obviously you have to face your fears. That's one of the biggest, most important parts. But each time I jumped out of the aircraft, as I got to the ramp the next time, it became less and less and less and less, little bit by little bit by little bit. That is stress inoculation. Okay, another one I had a huge problem with, and I think is probably very, very common for a lot of you, is public speaking. A lot of people are shocked to hear this because I do a lot of public speaking now. I do motivational speaking for colleges and football teams and different things. I was horrified when I started just giving a brief in front of 10 of my teammates when I first started, shaking, my voice rattling, I could barely do it, okay? But because I was so scared of it and I was so bad at it, my team sergeant, when I was brand new to a team, made me do it over and over and over and over again. And each time I did it, I got a little bit better at it, and I got a little bit less scared of it. My anxiety symptoms were a little bit less, okay? So the worst thing you can do if something is causing you fear or anxiety is avoid it, okay? When you hear face your fears, it's a real thing, okay? You don't have to jump straight into it at the maximum level, but you have to start exposing yourself and inoculating yourself to the stress, okay? Now, like I mentioned, it's never gonna go away. Even after, hundreds of Halo jumps I have now, when I walk up to the ramp, even though now I'm really good at it, or was before, I retired, you know, there's that anxiety turns sort of into adrenaline, right? Where it's kind of like you're amped up, and what would used to have caused you massive amounts of stress and anxiety is now causing you sort of a positive adrenaline, because you're gaining confidence in that stressor. Same thing as gunfights. First time I got shot at, I about fell off the top of the roof I was on, trying to scurry away so fast, and had my my 18 Delta watching me start laughing his ass off at me, who'd been in 5 combat rotations before that. You know, and then by 20 missions later, you know, you're getting shot at, and it's kind of like, oh, here we go again. Okay, stress inoculation. You have to constantly expose yourself. So guys, whatever you're afraid of, start slow, start small, and just do it. If, for example, all you young guys out there, I know that watch the channel, if you are scared of talking to girls, which I think we all are when we were younger, just go do it, right? Fear of being rejected. Oh no, who cares? Go up and just start practicing. Think of it as, that's the way I like to think of it. Think of it as practice. When I'm practicing public speaking, or I'm practicing something like that, I'm just inoculating myself to the stress. We do it in everything we do in Special Forces, and it's the most critical thing you guys can do as well. Okay, so number 1, stress inoculation. All right, number 2, and this is one I think it's probably less known about, but we use a lot, and I used extensively in my career, which is probably, and I still use it to today, and that is called visualization. Okay, so what is visualization? I can't even say it. That is basically mentally walking through what I'm about to do with my eyes closed, step by step, before I do it. And I do it over and over and over again. The night before a jump, okay? What am I gonna think? I'm gonna visualize the entire thing, start to finish, okay? I'm gonna visualize myself walking onto the aircraft, sitting down, putting my seatbelt on, going to altitude, hooking up my oxygen, checking my buddy, getting the stand-up call, move to the ramp, do my checks on my buddies again, prepare myself, walk to the edge of the ramp, green light, go. Okay, I'm gonna visualize myself dive, quarter turn, pull, open, all those things, step by step by step, with my eyes closed, actually seeing it in my subconscious, or conscious thought, I guess, over and over and over again. That way, by the time I do it, I've actually sort of mentally done the task 20 times in a row. And I use this for everything, okay? I use this for public speaking, okay? When I'm getting ready to go talk in front of a class, or whatever I'm gonna do, I close my eyes. I envision myself standing up, walking to the front, getting in front of the podium, and I actually talk my entire brief through with my eyes closed, visualizing this. I promise you guys, once I started using this tool, oh, this had a massive positive impact on my ability to not be so anxious when I was getting ready to do things. Okay, this is a massive tool for handling anxiety, which I know is a huge problem. Now, we're gonna get more into third one. Actually, is probably the best thing for anxiety, but anxiety is, I think, it's becoming more and more common, and you have to find ways to deal with it naturally. What I mean by that is, I'm not giving you guys I'm not telling you what to do with your lives. Through all my PTSD, and guys, I had anxiety. I don't talk about this that often, but I'll share it just because those of you who've had issues too. After a lot of combat, I ended up in a lot of behavioral health, okay? I basically was getting to the point where I was having massive anxiety and panic attacks for what seemed like no reason. Just being at home with my kids and just absolutely seizing up, shaking, the whole nine. And it was happening pretty frequently. And luckily I had a former teammate who suggested I go see behavioral health, okay? And what I did there was actually called a lot of prolonged exposure, which is actually mental stress inoculation. So what we did was I walked through all the most horrific things I've been through in combat mentally, step by step, through visualization and stress inoculation, over and over and over again, to the point where I went from not even being able to speak about that stuff to where I can freely tell the stories, no problem, or basically no problem now. Okay, so what I want you guys to understand is, even someone like me I've had massive issues with panic attacks, anxiety, all those things. These things have helped me completely overcome it, okay? So I'm telling you guys, it's not gonna be easy, but this will help you overcome your fears and your anxiety, okay? So again, visualization. Visualization, walk yourself through these things mentally, right? Now, number 3, and I think this is probably the most important when it comes to dealing with anxiety, okay? A lot of people say anxiety is genetic or biological and all these things. It's not, okay? Anxiety, all it is at the end of the day is your physical response to your brain feeling like it's not in control of whatever your situation may be, okay? That's anxiety. Now, the problem is that so much of our lives, things are thrust upon us by external factors, right? So all the time, we aren't in control of things, especially if you're in the military. So much of your life is dictated to you, okay? So it is super easy to go into massive states of anxiety if you feel like you aren't in control of the situation, okay? Here's what you need to know. The reality is you're never going to be completely in control of external factors, okay? So how do we deal with that? And what I like to say with that is your true acceptance of your inability to control external factors being thrust upon you. This one's hard to do, okay? So I talked about a book in my last video from Marilee Adams called Change Your Questions, Change Your Life, that I think probably had the most that helped me in dealing with this. What that means is anytime something bad happens to you outside of your control, right? You get let off from work because your company's downsizing, whatever, okay? It's very easy for that to spiral you into massive amounts of anxiety and panic and fear. But if you can learn to rephrase the things you're telling yourself, okay, rather than, oh my gosh, I got laid off, what am I gonna do? This is the end of my life. If you can rephrase that into, actually, this could potentially be an opportunity for me to start that business that I wanted to always start, but I was always too scared to do, for me to change career fields, go back to school, anything like that. You can reframe, okay, the external factor into something positive. If you can do that, and again, this is the hardest thing to do, but if you can start to do that on a regular basis, you're going to conquer your anxiety, okay? Again, it's easier said than done, but this is a good way for you to do it. So all of us who have anxiety know, okay, those thoughts start racing, our mind starts racing, you can't turn it off, okay? You just kind of try to ground yourself a little bit and say, okay, wait a second. What is the potential upsides to what's going on in my life right now, okay? So get yourself out of that rabbit hole or that downward spiral rabbit hole into negativity, try to find some positivity, and that's gonna help you with your anxiety when it comes to the end of the day, okay? So what I wanna end with, and this again is not me telling you what to do with your life, but what I will suggest is, again, this is completely up to you, not a recommendation, just what's worked for me. Do not go the route of medication or pharmaceuticals, okay? I don't believe when it comes to these things, managing stress, anxiety, and fear, there's anything that's gonna put in your body that is going to solve your problem, okay? What is it going to do? It might mask the symptoms of what's happening to you, but it's never going to solve the underlying root causes of what's happening for fear, anxiety, and stress, okay? So do what you want, but I can tell you, if you're taking those medications, you are not going to improve, you're not gonna get better, you're gonna stay in a constant state of diluted anxiety, okay? So you have to target the root causes of these things. For me, it was behavioral health, prolonged exposure, right? Stress inoculation, reliving experiences. I had to do that. I had to do the work, okay? I couldn't just take pills and figure that was gonna do it for me, okay? So again, just to wrap the video up, 3 keys. I promise you guys, if you can do all 3 of these on a regular basis, your anxiety, your fear response, and your stress will improve. Stress inoculation, expose yourself repeatedly to whatever's causing you the stress, okay? Number 2, use visualization. I can't say the word. Use it, okay? Walk yourself through these things. Step by step by step. Try it. Also with that, if you are highly anxious, what I would suggest you try is what's called box breathing. We use it in dive school, okay? So there's a bunch of different variations of this, but breathe in for 4 seconds, and then breathe out for 4 seconds, nice and slow. Breathe in for 4 seconds, out for 4 seconds, and your body's stress response should help you reduce a little bit, okay? And then number 3 is learning to accept that you are not in control of the world, okay? If you can do that, and you can reframe your questions and the way you're talking to yourself when negative things happen to you, you will improve your ability to handle your anxiety and stress, okay? So from a guy who did one of the most stressful, fear-inducing jobs on the planet for over a decade, I hope you guys take my advice and I hope it helps. All right, guys, have a good day.